What up, what up? Welcome to Sports Theory. What I want to talk about today is the OKC acquiring Paul George and how him and Russell Westbrook can make the OKC Thunder a contender in the West. All right, now I know Golden State won't be knocked off anytime soon. I'm not saying they'll beat Golden State. That definitely won't happen anytime soon. We don't know if that will happen at all. What I'm saying is this move makes them a better team, and Paul George being added to this team makes them a more dynamic team, and they'll be able to handle teams differently. Much differently than how they handled them from last year. Last year, the bulk of the offense was on Russell Westbrook. If he didn't play, if he didn't have a big game, OKC usually lost. This is something that Paul George can relate to as well. He was in a similar situation in Indiana. He was carrying a bulk of the offense. He really didn't have another prime scorer. I mean, he had some guys who could give you flashes here and there, but he never really had any solid scorers, who was another star and was another complement to his style of play, who could create their own shots, who could basically do the things that Russell Westbrook can do. Seeing as this is something that both of them have been through and they're both familiar with, I think that's why they're going to gel so much together. They're going to appreciate each other and the situation that they're in now, and they're going to realize they have the opportunity to win. Now, I know Russell Westbrook played with KD, but their styles were pretty similar. They both like to handle the ball a lot. They both have a high usage rate as far as times when the ball is in their hand. Now, that's great in the system where it works for both players. It did not work in OKC system. Kevin Durant is with the team now, who has another ball handler in Steph Curry, yes, but they also can score on the fast break, and they have other role players that are more dynamic than what OKC had when Durant was there. When Durant was with OKC, it was either him or Russell Westbrook. Most of the other players couldn't create their own shot. That caused problems because when Russell Westbrook didn't have the ball, it was kind of like he was being frozen out of the game. And the same with KD. When Russell had the ball, it was like KD was frozen out of the game, and they bumped heads about that. The reason I think this is going to be different is because Paul George is a very unselfish player. I'm not saying that KD is selfish. What I'm saying is Paul George was in a similar situation with Russell Westbrook. He's going to be happy to have a sidekick like Russell Westbrook. He came into the situation without someone like that. Russell Westbrook and KD came into the NBA together pretty much. They've always been playing with each other. They always kind of been fighting for the light. That's just the drive of two great players, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in some instances like this one, that's not going to work, and you're not going to win a championship, or at least you're not going to win a championship as soon as you thought, maybe as soon as some of those players thought, some of those fans thought in Oklahoma City. Maybe they just had to wait a little bit longer. Who knows? If they would have kept KD, Hard, and Westbrook, who knows where they could have gone. But obviously, KD didn't want to wait any longer, so he went to Golden State and get him one with the Golden State Warriors, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. This could be the case of one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now, that's just the saying. Nothing about the situation is trash. They're not trash at all. They just fit better with Paul George. The play style with Russell Westbrook at the point guard position didn't fit with KD, and that's okay. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It just wasn't the right fit. Paul George is the right fit. He came into the game without a star support. So he's going to be looking forward to that. He's ready to see how him and Russell Westbrook will mesh, and I think they're going to mesh well. Russell Westbrook needs someone at the guard position. He needs someone who can create their own shot, move without the ball, get to the line, do all the things necessary to grind through the season and get into the playoffs. If OKC wants to match up with Golden State, San Antonio, and Houston, they're going to have to be tougher. This is already a tough team, but adding Paul George made them tougher, especially on the perimeter. Paul George is a good perimeter defender, something that OKC was kind of lacking. OKC does have good role players, and they have good defensive players. Enes Kanter, Andre Roberson, and Steve Adams are all good defensive players. Paul George is going to complement their defensive game. Paul George being a good wing defender, a good solid perimeter defender, he's going to stop guys from getting into the lanes and drawing fouls. And even if they do get into the lanes, they have Steve Adams and Enes Kanter right there to block the shot, trying to have to get around Russell Westbrook and Paul George, then going to the lane and seeing Enes Kanter or Steven Adams. That's a good look for the OKC Thunder. OKC has a frantic offense that sometimes spirals out of control. It can cause Russell Westbrook to do a lot of risky things that he's going to turn the ball over. That's going to be lower as well. With Paul George getting some of the touches, that's going to bring Russell Westbrook turnovers down significantly. And I think it's going to be the reason that they're going to win more than they did last year. They're going to be in games longer. They're going to be in more games, and they're going to be able to put teams away. Paul George is someone who's very, very unselfish with the basketball, but he's not afraid to be aggressive and take the last shot. He did this in Indiana. When Russell Westbrook is on the bench or taking a rest or doing whatever, Paul George is going to step up and take the role. I think this is the most comfortable position for him. All the pressure is not on him, but just enough pressure is on him to make him turn it up the next level. I mean, he's playing with an MVP. He's playing with someone who averaged a triple-double. That in itself is going to create some pressure. But pressure does create great things, and some players break out and they go further than anybody thought just because of the pressure that was put on him. This could be one of those situations. Paul George is unselfish, and he seems like a level-headed person who really knows their fundamentals as far as the guard position is concerned. This is someone who's going to help OKC. He's going to bring some fundamentals, some control to this offense, because sometimes Westbrook can be out of control, but you can't blame him because there's no one else on the offense. It's Russell Westbrook or bust. This is the worst type of basketball I think there is to watch for the fans and for the players, because when you have one player like this doing all the work, it's bad as a team aspect. What he did on an individual level is incredible, averaging a triple-double. But team basketball is what wins championships, and that's exciting to watch. And adding Paul George to this team is a great move for the OKC Thunder. I believe OKC Thunder and the Houston Rockets are the top two teams that are going to threaten the Golden State Warriors. The Spurs, even if they do threaten the Warriors this year, they don't have long. They don't have much time left to be contenders. OKC and Houston, they look like they could be reaching the peak. When you talk about Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Paul George, these are two teams that's going to be battling it out for a long time in the West to try to get that second spot, and they're going to make each other better. Playing each other each year is going to make them better. This season with Paul George is going to affect how he looks at his future. A lot of people say that he still wants to go to LA. Some people say he's just going to come here for 1 year, see how it goes. If it goes well, he's going to stay. If it doesn't, he's going to go to LA. That's what I think he'll personally do. That's why it's important for the OKC Thunder to have a good first year with Paul George and see what happens. If they go deep enough into the playoff, Paul George is going to come back. All right, if they go deep enough into the playoffs, he's coming back to help build. I think this can be a special franchise. It can be a special organization. They make a lot of good decisions. All right, some of their decisions are kind of iffy, but the majority of their decisions are pretty good, and it looks like this team really just went from, the 8th seed to maybe the 5th. Maybe the 5th or 4th seed, possibly. I think it's possible. I think they could do it. I think they're better than a lot of teams in the West that people may not think they can compete with. I think right now this makes them better than pretty much most of the teams in the East. All right, that was my video. Let me know what y'all think. Like, subscribe, comment. Do y'all think this was a good move for OKC? Like I said, I think it was a great move. I get this move an A+. Getting Paul George to OKC was an A+ because he's everything that they need. He's a perimeter defender. He's a good ball handler. He's a good decision maker. He's level-headed. He's calm. He's relaxed. He's unselfish. All right. And he can turn up and he can get buckets and he can be a big-time scorer. He's a team player. He's everything that they need. So that was a great look for OKC. Like, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. It's Sports Theory. I'm out.